So welcome back to super bright, super windy and chilly Florida. This is kind of an odd time of the year to do a mower blade test, but I'll explain why I want to knock this out in this video right here before, well, winter really sets in. So I've recently got a new mower and I'm trying to decide which mower blades I want to run on it. I did this with my last zero turn that I had for 12 plus years. And the reason I like to figure this out is because I buy my mower blades in bulk. I did this with my last mower and I'm a big believer in sharpening my blades. So I'll keep 5 to 8 sets in stock, run them all summer long, take them off, sharpen them, and believe it or not, those will last me 2 or 3 years as long as I really stay on top of sharpening and don't damage them. So our new Grasshopper mower has more blade options than I had with my previous mower, and I've only picked up a handful of what's available for it. So we're going to start off with what's called a contour blade. This is kind of a lower lift blade. I'm not sure this is going to be the one that I need for our thick Bahia grass down here, but I'm very curious about the low lift on this and if this is going to allow me to cut thick grass better. So this may have an application for that. This is ultimately designed, well, lower lift for sandy applications. The current blade that I'm running is your typical high lift blade. You see that scoop on the back? That's what does your lifting of the grass and then clean cutting there. Now it does move a lot more material, including sand, and it moves a lot more of the grass as well. You'll also notice this is kind of your typical thickness size blade. Then I discovered Grasshopper offers what's called an ultra high lift blade. Huge bend, highest lift I've ever seen. This could be really good for lifting these Bahia stalks that we have down here and cutting them, but it comes at a cost, it looks like. Really thick, really large blade. There's a lot of mass and weight here. Plus, when you add in the high lift, this may be too much of a drain on the mower engine itself. We'll have to see. I'm expecting this one to bog down the most in thick grass, but I want to see if it'll leave some of the cleanest cuts, especially in 2 different size grasses that we have available out here. So it's turning into winter quickly, going to be in the high 30s tonight. This is my last opportunity to figure this out and go ahead and order my blades in for next year. We mowed the entire property yesterday and you see I left a really big patch of pasture grass here. This is way thicker than a typical yard would ever be. So my plan is to run all 3 sets of blades through this really thick grass to see how it performs with, well, thick grass. Then we're going to run out the back side of this thick patch into a little bit lower cut patch. This was all cut with a tractor mower, by the way. That is still very thick grass back there and a little closer to what you may find in the yard, although quicker. So this is going to give me an opportunity to test 2 different thicknesses of grass. All right, so there's my boot down in it. You can see this is just super thick and matted. Not what you typically mow with a zero turn, but there will be times that myself and some of y'all will go into stuff this thick. So I want to see what blade's best for that. And then whenever we get over into what was mowed with the tractor, you can see this is still way higher than a typical yard is going to be. Still nice and thick, but starting to die off on me. So we better get this test done quickly. This is going to be kind of how you typically mow a yard, at least for us. So we'll see how the blades perform on that. The plan is to do 2 passes all the way down and through and out the backside, do it in the middle and do it on the side so we're getting even results. And then I'll tell you how the engine sounds, how it's impacting the mower, and ultimately we're gonna look at the cut. Now for those of you that's just recently come across this video, this may seem a bit odd, but I love running tests like this, from chainsaw chains to mower blades to tractor blades, anything I can get my hands on. I like to test, I like to make for sure what I'm purchasing in the future is gonna be exactly what I need, and I love showing the results and any data that we can get with you, the viewer. All right, so first and foremost, let's change these blades out. What we currently have on here is a heavily used set for mowing the yard over the end of summer right here. So we want to get those changed out. And for those of you that are curious, this is a Grasshopper 900D series with a 25 horse diesel. It's their 1.3 liter, their larger displacement diesel. So you can compare that with your results. They offer all the way up to a 40 horsepower gas on this. So should some of the results I get today not be what's properly sized for this engine, doesn't mean it wouldn't work on another engine. You gonna help me do this test, buddy? I guess so. All right, so the first blade we're gonna run is the low profile contoured blade. I picked up some of these to mow in sandy situations out in my food plot. I've got videos out on that. It's kind of a unique way that I use these, but I got to thinking these may be really, really awesome for thick grass. We're gonna find out. You can see they got a different twist to the entire cutting edge. All right, 3 completely different blades, 6 total passes. I did have a little bit of grass blow over. I should have made this field bigger. It's extremely windy today with this cold front moving through. But let's go over the results. I think you're gonna see there's a win or two, although some of this stuff is hard to pick up on camera. So if we start with the contour blades, I'm seeing a nice clean cut. And I was kind of expecting it to not be so clean because I didn't think there would be enough lift to pull, especially this really thick grass up. But y'all, look at what we're mowing here, what's coming out of the discharge deck. Obviously this is on the high lift side, but look over here by old Ruger. This is just crazy amount of material. Nobody is mowing yards this thick unless maybe it's a new client or something like that, or you've just neglected it and let it go. But overall, I'm only seeing the occasional piece like that sticking up. There was a little patch there, and it's probably because I hit a really big clump. Again, we're mowing stuff that I typically mow with a rotary mower behind a tractor. So that's what I'm looking for. Only the occasional piece sticking up like that. That's how I'm judging the cut out here, what's left. So let's go all the way down to where we quit cutting on the thick grass and did a couple passes in some thinner grass that I would compare more to yard grass. All right, as I'm walking down this, I am only ever so often seeing a couple pieces like that. That is really, really good for as thick as this grass was. But we're in the thinner stuff here. The thick stuff stops right up there, and you can still see how thick this was. It's very easy to see where I mowed. So looking again, only the occasional little piece sticking up. Still really thick grass, but as I look across this, it is all nice and evenly cut. I'm not seeing anything. Sometimes you can see where the blade went or where it missed something. Just occasional random piece or two. I can absolutely live with that as thick as the materials I'm cutting. You can still see what's coming out of the discharge deck over here. This is, again, way thicker than the typical yard, especially if you're mowing, you know, every week like we do, or maybe even every other week. All right, so let's come over to the high lift section. This is where it's gonna be hard to show on camera, but I can clearly see a difference. What y'all may not be able to see is strips going down that I can tell are slightly higher than the other areas. And that's probably because we've put a higher lift blade that's essentially working a little harder in very thick grass. So I don't know if y'all can pick it up. Nice and perfectly cut. As soon as I come to most likely where one of the blades was, it's a little higher and definitely a lot more pieces left. I could easily see this from the mower. That's why I was like, oh wow. Yes, I absolutely see results quicker than I was expecting. So that's what's very visual and clear to me. Again, if you're mowing a yard and mowing short grass, I don't think you're ever going to see this. I know you're not, because we currently run high lift blades and our yard looks great. I guess this test is more for thicker grass, we should say. See, there is a whole patch right there that's still elevated a little. If we come over to this crazy thick stuff, I'm seeing the same results. An occasional patch that's left, and I can clearly see where one blade went because it's still a little higher. While I haven't listened to the footage yet, I could also tell the engine was working less hard with the contour blade, which made sense. I've kind of called that at the beginning. Although I didn't think it was working very hard on the high lift. I was expecting the engine to pull down more, especially in the super thick stuff. Now that's a whole different story when we put on the ultra high lift blades and mowed this section. And y'all don't get me wrong, overall looking at this, I mean, we're mowing thick field grass. It looks great. But once again, I don't know if y'all can pick this up. There's a patch left right where a blade went. I can kind of see that. Same results as the high lift. Maybe a little worse over here. See the grass still sticking up, but then we make it over to here, a lot more mowed. Over there is mowed nicely as well. Same results, maybe even a bigger swath left. Without a doubt, I still gotta go listen to the footage. I could tell the engine was pulling down more with the ultra high lift, which I totally expected. That makes perfect sense. You're slinging a huge, heavy blade on a 25 horse diesel. I'd be curious to see this test with their 40 horse gas version. I bet it would spin these no problem. But we love diesel. It's very fuel efficient, and we already keep a large amount of diesel on the property. So I do not regret going diesel at all. I love it. So if coming to the thick section, I'm still shocked at how well all these blades in this mower cut this crazy thick grass, but same results. I still see the strips going along here. But y'all, look what was coming out of that. I mean, you really shouldn't even be cutting this kind of stuff with the mower, but it handled it beautifully. I'm gonna leave my field mowing to my tractors. All right, and for comparison, as soon as we come out of where the field stopped yesterday, we mowed our entire yard yesterday with the high lift blades. So let's go out here and just kind of take a peek at all that. You can see exactly how a yard looks. We don't let this grow up very thick before we mow it. So let's take a look. We also mow a little higher than most people. I don't like scalping a yard, but if you take a look across here, everything's cut nice and even. The high lift blades performed awesome because we didn't let the yard get so thick like that pasture. All right, so I'll admit I was way off on this test, or at least the results I was expecting. A while back, I was dead set the ultra high lift was gonna be the blade for me. Now, the only thing I can't test today is because we're going into winter, our grass is going dormant, we don't have the long stalks that comes up with the peace signs, as I always say, on the Bahia. That's a thick, heavy stalk that's hard to lift up. So the higher lift still may perform well, but based on thicker grasses like I'm seeing today, which a lot of you mow, the contour blades are the clear winner. Easier on the engine, probably gonna be more fuel efficient, and cut the grass the most consistent. That's the exact opposite of what I expected. I was thinking a while back when I ordered all these blades in, the high lift to probably ultra high lift I was leaning toward, I was thinking was gonna be the best, but I knew it was gonna work the engine harder. You can clearly see why. I'm kind of shocked today to see that right now, I'm probably gonna run this test one more time in the spring once we get the Bahia stalks. I think I'm gonna order me quite a bit of contour blades, which is what I never expected. I've never mowed with contour blades before. We've always just run high lift around here. I'm glad I found those blades. All right, so hopefully this answers some questions for you. If you're mowing thick stuff, I highly recommend the contour blade, and they're ultimately designed for lower lift in sandy situations. So if you're mowing in the South, Florida, for example, a lot of what we call sugar sand, just beach sand, poor soil. Luckily, we're blessed with good soil here, and you don't want to beat all that sand and blow it everywhere. That's what a contour blade's for. But because it's less aggressive in a sense, I think it's an excellent choice for thick grass too, something I never really thought about until we did today's test. If there's any other tests that you want to see and things you want me to try out, by all means, let me know. I love doing this kind of stuff on the channel. We'll catch you on the next video.